Hey, welcome back to Spring Into Math 5. This is Mr. Stein here again, and today we're tackling the metric system. Okay, so the metric system. Last time we talked about the customary units of measurement which we use in the United States. Now we're shifting gears to the metric system. So, in science classes and anywhere outside the United States, length is measured with the metric system. The most common units that we use to measure length in the metric system are the millimeter, centimeter, meter, and kilometer. All right, now, the millimeter. This is the smallest commonly used unit in the metric system. Now, it's not the smallest unit in the metric system, it's the smallest commonly used unit. So make sure you're clear on the distinction between the two. There are smaller units. This is just the smallest one that is typically used. So the abbreviation for millimeters is mm. For example, 3 millimeters is written 3 mm. And I know you've probably seen this before. So a millimeter would be used to measure something that is very small, like a seed or something like that, something that's tiny. Now, the centimeter is the next smallest unit in the metric system. So the abbreviation for centimeters is cm. So 1 centimeter is roughly the width of a staple. And to really relate this, and we talked about this last time with the customary units, how there wasn't a very clear way to go back and forth between the different units. The metric system doesn't have that. It's very clear. So there are 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter. Everything in the metric system is based on units of essentially 10, 100, and 1,000. So it's really very easy to go back and forth. So centimeters are smaller than an inch to give you perspective. So when you're looking at the ruler, one side's your inches side, that's where you have 12, and then your other side's your centimeter side and your millimeter side. And you have a lot more lines on that side. And students often think of, they often call the bigger units millimeters because that's what's usually listed on the ruler, but it's actually those numbers are measuring your centimeters. Okay, the next common metric unit is the meter. The abbreviation for meter is m. A meter is longer than a foot. In fact, a meter is roughly about the same length as a yard. Okay, so keep that in mind when you're talking about relations between the two. So a yard and a meter are pretty close. One way to get an idea of length of a meter is to stretch your arms out to your sides, and your fingertip to fingertip shows about a meter. Now, obviously, this depends on how large or small somebody is, but you got to kind of get an idea of when you stretch your arms out, you're looking at about a meter. So there are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. So like I said, it's kind of going in units of 10. 10 millimeters in 1 centimeter, 100 centimeters in a 1 meter. Now, meters are used to measure bigger objects or longer distances, such as the depth of a pool or the length of a hallway, something like that. Now, kilometers are the longest unit of measurement in the metric system. So the abbreviation for kilometers is km. So like miles, kilometers are used to measure long distances, such as the distance from your house to the store or from your town to a different town. So you're talking about great distances. So kilometers are a little more than half a mile. So it's not a perfect relationship between miles and kilometers, though they're the largest unit of measuring length in the two different systems. But to give you perspective, you're talking about half the distance. And again, when you talk about how we kind of work on equivalencies and how they are related, there are 1,000 meters in a kilometer. So every time you're jumping, you went from millimeters to centimeters, you had 10. From centimeters to meters, you had 100. And now you're going from meters to kilometers, you have 1,000. So you're just kind of adding a 0 on, if that helps to kind of think about how they're related. Okay. So I kind of included this nice graphic. It's talking about metric length. So again, we have a millimeter is mm, and to give you perspective of what the size of a millimeter is, you're talking about a ladybug, an ant, a eraser, maybe the thickness of a few sheets of paper. A centimeter is more like your fingernail, a button, a push pin, or a penny. A meter is like the size of, you're talking about maybe a soccer field or a tree or a school bus, something of that size. And then when you talk about kilometers, you're talking about traveling from different states or from, when you leave your house and you're driving to the mall, how many kilometers it is away. Or oftentimes you hear people talking about doing marathons and they use the kilometer to describe the length of the marathon. Okay, so that's going to wrap up our introduction to the metric system. See you next time.